Hello and welcome back to a new video. This time it's about the Oric Computers. So if you follow my channel, the last set of videos was about my experience in video games. But I've been discussing with a bunch of people, and as it appears is that there are not that many people who actually know about Oric Computers out of France and UK. So regularly, what Oric? What is that? So many of you in France have been exposed to the Oric One, which is the little brother, and the latest model, which was the Oric Atmos. So that one has been modified. It has some logo, it has some on-off switch to select different time of ROM revision, but it's not the topic of today. Today I wanted to speak about software on the Oric. There's been many 8-bit computers in the 80s. Some super successful, like the Commodore 64, the Amstrad CPC, the Sinclair Spectrum, and some which barely appeared for one season and disappeared, with maybe 5, 10, 20 pieces of software released, most of them made by the publisher, and the machine never got traction, so it did not have any software. And as we all know, it's the software which counts, not really the hardware. And contrary to what many people think, the Oric actually had quite a lot of software. But before I start about the Oric, I'm going to talk about this, Tangerine. So, back in the day, 1979, there were a British company called Tangerine, which was building this typical type of 6502 based computers that you basically had to assemble yourself. There were similar ones, like the first version of the Apple II, Kim. There were a bunch of boards with switches and light bulbs. And basically that one was a rack based, in which you could put some boards, and if you were if you were poor, you would use the input pad, and if you were lucky and rich, you could get the full system with a keyboard and everything. There are not that many in working condition, but you can still find some. Interestingly, if you look here, you can see that we have the same thing as what we have here on the Oric Atmos. So basically, the Oric One and the Oric Atmos are just a streamlined version of the Microtan 65. And why am I talking about Tangerine? It's because of the Tan. Tangerine is who become Oric after. Also knew they needed some software, so they made their own software company called Tansoft, and that's where most of the known Oric software comes from. So the Welcome to Oric Atmos by Tansoft, and the equivalent for the Oric One, Welcome to Oric, which copyright Oric Product International, but I believe it's probably written Tansoft somewhere. Yeah. Important, the content of this cassette are the copyright of Tansoft Ltd. It may not be copied, lent, or resold without the express written consent of Tansoft Ltd. So all this earlier Oric software is actually Tangerine software, and it did not look very good. The Oric was late on the market, they were struggling, they had fire in the factory, it was a real mess. And truth be told, they did not have budget to do anything fancy, so here what you will find in your shop, your Oric One will come with Oric software, and then you could buy Oric Force, Oric Flight, Oric Multigames, Zodiac, and Oric Base in not very exciting monochromatic inlays. But still, this software worked, and then the Oric Atmos was released. So as I said, Oric 1, Oric Atmos. And if you see here, you have Oric Extended Basic version 1.1. That's an Oric Atmos, and you can see that the blinking cursor is under ready. If I unplug that, switch this, plug it back with one hand, come on. Now we have Oric Extended Basic version 1.0 with a different amount of memory and the blinking cursor. That's actually the main difference between the Oric 1 and the Oric Atmos. It's basically, okay, a different case, obviously, black on white versus black on red, a better keyboard, but if you open an Oric Atmos, you will see that on the motherboard written Oric 1 revision, maybe 3, 4. The real difference is the ROM, which is why this machine can switch between Oric 1 and Oric Atmos by just selecting a different ROM. Which is practical because then you can load the Oric 1 software. And the reason is, contrary to Commodore, for example, the ROM, the BASIC, is not vectorized. So instead of calling function 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you would call in ROM address DCB6 or FB85, and of course this address is changed on the Atmos, which means that any piece of software which directly calls the ROM function will miserably crash on the Atmos. So if you try to load any of these on the Atmos, it's most probably going to fail miserably. Which also means that Welcome to Oric 1 does not run on Atmos, and Welcome to Atmos does not run on the Oric 1, which is a bummer. I'm going to switch back to Atmos. If you change the ROM while it's running, it's probably not going to damage the machine, but it's going to freeze, so you have to restart it anyway. And just so we have something later to watch, I'm going to load the welcome tape. Load. Hopefully it's going to work. So since it's actual tape loading, it's probably going to take about 5 minutes. Just waiting for the searching to switch to loading C, which means that it found the data. The suspense. I can hear the... Come on! So one of the characteristics of the Oric is that it's also very fiddly with tape loading, so it may just fail. Or it may just be my tape drive which failed. Which is another part of the video I wanted to do. Actually, I did not want to do it for this video, I wanted to do it for another video, which is about finding a tape drive which still works 20 years later. So I think that one is on its last leg. I managed to load the welcome tape earlier. It did not work anymore, so I guess it just died. Probably need to replace the belt or maybe a cabestan. So anyway, that was the first generation of Oric software. And when the Oric Atmos was released, or more exactly when they started to get money, they were able to do a second generation of software, which looked a bit better, still not very exciting. So Oric Mon, Super Advanced Breakout, for Multigames 2, I believe we have Multigames 1 here, and Oric Munch. And in the shop, it was actually in some cardboard box, so you can see Super Advanced Breakout, it's the same game. Shrink wrapped with a big Oric logo, and that's not much about it. So these ones are now standardized in the inlay. You will see that on all the games later. And you have more useful information, some mini manual, sometimes with a warranty thing, and some even had real user manuals, like Oric Mon. We have an actual user manual for Oric Mon with spiral bound and a lot of pages with memory definition, list of instruction in assembler, etc., etc. And yeah, how to use the tool. So that's the second generation of Tansoft programs. Then we have a new generation of even more beautiful programs. Some of these are actually re-release of the old ones, but now apparently they had decided to go with something a bit more modern in appearance. I mean, if you compare these ones with these ones, here they have standardized that the important was the title of the game, not the fact it was Oric software. And the Tansoft logo is a bit nicer with the colors of the Oric Atmos instead of the bluish one. But it's still pretty much the same type of software. And here is the one which gave the name to my website, Defense Force, which comes with an instruction manual with details about the game, the scoring system and things. And I really like Defense Force because it is a good idea of what Oric software could have been if all programmers were actually talented on the machine. This game has some loading screen. It has an attract screen with visual effect, blinking, big title, list of high scores, list of points for each of the monsters. It's very well done. And just seeing it running, you want to play it. While most of the other games basically had just nothing during the loading, like just have the standard white page. Then you will have a default system font text with press space to play, or something as fancy as that. So not very exciting. That better, but it's not finished. We have a final evolution of the Tansoft software. On that one, let me see. Matches when Tansoft got serious about talking about the software they were doing. You probably recognize that as the dragon in The Hobbit. And these are various pictures of the games. And here you have the 1984, I believe it's 1984, release of Tansoft software. So Defense Force, you get that one, Ultima Zone, Oric Much, Super Grand Breakout, Rat Splat. So that's all the ones here. And then we have Oric Calc, and Oric Mon, Multigame 2, and where are the others? Well, the others are in a different format. I present you the clamshell games. So at some point they switch from the crystal boxes to the clamshell, which are much better to protect the games. If this falls down, it's not going to explode. And there is more room for displaying interesting things. It looks simply better in the shop. So here we have Novotnik puzzle. Where is it? Yes. Oric CAD, which I've been trying to find for the good part of the 2 last years. It's not that it's any good in any way. It just happened to be a software that people were not interested in, so not many people had it. So it's a case of hard to find just because it's not very good or not very interesting. But now I have it. For the programmers, we have Force that we can see there. And we have Oric Base. We actually have a second version of Oric Mon. The one advertised here is that one, but that one is Oricron and Atmos compatible. Not sure why Oric Mon, the original, will not be, but this box looks much better. Here we have Zodiac. And the House of Death. Chess. And Otter. Which leaves us with these 4 ones. These ones were also very hard to find because, believe it or not, there are not many people interested in learning language on computers back in the 80s. And here they are. The Grunberg Link Word language courses, Italian, German, Spanish, and French. And all these come with 2 tapes and a smallish manual with some vocabulary, list of words, on basically how to load the software. And there is another one which is on this list, but which is not actually a Tansoft program. You can see The Hobbit. At last, the best-selling adventure is available for the Oric. Based on the J.R.R. Tolkien book, The Hobbit included a complete text and graphic adventure. And we have it here. So, as you can see, it's a Melbourne House logo, but it's a Tansoft logo as well. So basically, Tansoft just did the port of the standard version of the game. So it comes with a small manual which explains how to play, and inside the cardboard box you have the game and a warranty card if you want to contact them in Australia. And the book, The Hobbit, that's the specific edition from Unwind Paperbacks. So you get the ISBN if you want it. A lot of people actually have the Hobbit, but they don't have the book with it. And the book is easy to find on eBay, so if you just want to have the complete set, you can just get it there. Regarding the manuals, I also have a guide to playing the Hobbit. So that one is not specific to the Oric. It works with all the versions of the game. Basically the same game. The only difference is how good the graphics were ported. And still in the manuals, So the Oric CAD manual by Andrew Suns, I'm not sure if it's correctly pronounced, with various commands on how to load things, shading in the object, printing, hiding lines, the manual of author by John Dawson, with how things work with different encoding depending on which printer you're using. So it was not what you see, what you get, mostly because the Oric is 40 columns, so there's not much to do. There is actually one Oric word processor which uses 60 columns by displaying its own fancy font with compressed characters. I really liked it. A lot of people hated it, but maybe because I'm used to things written very small. Then we have Oric Calc, so which is a spreadsheet. So what you can do to average a column of number AA2 plus AB2 plus AC2 plus AD2 divided by 4, with a complex variant using multiply. Loading, saving spreadsheet, and an example. Joe Blogg's account due B83 to December 1983. Receipt, VAT, phone bill, stationery, photocopies. And for the fourth language, also the manual. I find it interesting that the manuals for programmers, very technical things like force and mond, are using spiral bound, because it means you can just keep it open, while these things that does not work much. So that's mostly it. I also had, so all this software is part of this, the Oric software collection, brought to you by Tansoft, Christmas 1984. We have great pleasure in announcing the first edition of our software catalog, which introduces a carefully selected range of titles from a variety of software manufacturers. With over 40 titles to choose from the catalog, provides the best ever shop window for your Christmas purchases. So basically this was for the resellers, so they will know what was available. With arcade games, board games, Oric Base, Oric Calc, so that's the utilities, game for children, picture book, storybook, the language courses. On here you have a mix of Tansoft and EGK. So Oric Munch, that's Tansoft Pac-Man, and Ghost Gobbler, that's the EGK software Pac-Man. So yes, you have a mix. And with how much they cost, including if you wanted to have hardware, how much an Oric Atmos printer or floppy drive. You can see that the floppy drive is £300, while the printer is 150. That's quite a price difference. And finally, one thing I wanted to point out is that if you, I've been on oric.org to get the database list of Tansoft software and who wrote them. Author by John Dawson, okay. Chess 2 by Stephen G. Laws and Geoff Phillips. Who also made Home Finance, The House of Death, Linkword, French, German, Italian, Spanish, a part of Multigame 1 with Paul Kaufman, Oric Base, Oric Calc, Oric Flight, Oric Mon, Oric Munch, Quest, Simulator, which is actually Oric Flight, that's a French version, and Zodiac. And Kaufman. So basically it's like 5-6 person max who wrote pretty much all of the software or ported it. So it was a very small team of people. I think they did quite good. So retrospectively, I think without the debacle with Oric reliability when loading tapes and the ROM compatibility problem, there will probably be more software and more Oric being sold. So I started by Tansoft because, well, that's the main software company for the Oric. But I believe I'm going to make a full episode probably on EGK software. One on Loriciel, which was basically the EGK equivalent in France, with a lot of software. And Loriciel comes from logiciel for Oric, Loric Ciel. Then there are other producers like Seven Software, PSS, who made quite a lot of good games. And maybe an episode about one-hit wonders, like Manic Miner, software project, that's their only game. It's very good, too bad it's the only one. Ocean, who made just 3 games, Hunchback, Burger Time, equivalent Mr. Wimpy, and I forgot the name of the third one. But yeah, so that's basically it. The idea is to present things. I think in total there have been more than 500, about 500 commercial games. Depends how you count, if you count the re-release or not. And all in all, if you count also the type-in in magazines, in books, small games made by people and then released in their local club and things like that, definitely got in the 1,000. I got the Oric.org database, and they had about 2,000 something entries. So what I was wondering is that if it would be interesting for you people to not see how this gameplay, I mean there are already a bazillion of YouTube videos about these games. I mean I could do my own, like loaded from the real Oric, as soon as I get tape drive solved. But I could do something like, what about in 2020, is it possible to use an Oric Atmos to do database, calc, word processing, or can you learn French or Italian using 80 software? So yeah, that's basically the idea. And for the one who wondered, this is not a real Tangerine, this is some old thing I got from when I was a Boy Scout in Italy. It's kind of fake marble. So yeah, I hope you liked it. Too bad I could not load the demonstration tape. Hopefully I'm going to receive my semi-new old stock tape drive soon, and that will solve the problem. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.